People of Guadeloupe, 1 year is ending and another is beginning. What do we do? To act is first of all to understand what is happening around us. The situation of our people is more than worrying, it's tragic. We all feel it. Yet our daily lives are filled with more observations than rebellion, more resignation than politically constructive resistance. We are overwhelmed by doubt and fear for the future. What is going on? Contrary to what is happening locally, international opinion is largely in favor of questioning the established order that has been in place for more than a century. Those who resigned believed in the early 1990s that the story was over, that capitalism had definitively won. No, it's not true. Valiant people say no. Whether in the Caribbean, Central America, Latin America, North America, Europe, Africa or Asia, the peoples of the world say no to war, no to domination, no to profiteering. The traditional colonial powers, Western imperialists, are facing a new world order. Their anticipated and ongoing collapse is giving way to the BRICS, supporters of a multipolar world. It is therefore time for our living forces to revitalize themselves in order to accomplish the essential tasks necessary for the definitive recovery of the Guadeloupean revolutionary patriotic movement.
De Nous, notre.
An analysis of the current situation in Guadeloupe reveals facts which, for half a century, confirm the Machiavellian intentions of the French state. Indeed, we will focus on 3 areas: agriculture, health, and institutions, for which its practices reflect the political orientations truly thought out and applied in Guadeloupe. We are not talking about what the media and other supposed news media say, nor about political speeches, etc. Since the end of the 1970s, which saw popular masses rise up to disrupt the colonial order, the Beak and Creole lobby has sought to compromise the change promised by the mass movements that began in 1971 to 1972. Whether in Guadeloupe or Martinique. Under the pretext of fighting the weevil, they decided to introduce chlordane, already recognized as an endocrine disruptor, following studies conducted in the United States, banned in 1976. The information is disseminated internationally, but in 1990 to 91, the mayors and other local elected officials of Guadeloupe and Martinique were advised to downplay the recognition that this hormone was already widespread in the islands of Guadeloupe and Martinique. The Beak lobby knowingly imposed the use of chlordane in response to the rise of mass mobilization between 1972 and 1993. From 1972 onwards, because strikes in the agricultural sector disturbed the peace of the landowners, and from 1990 to 1993, to dispose of their stocks with the blessing of the government. The collusion between the settlers and the government in the late 1970s was deliberately aimed at halting any potential agricultural development in Guadeloupe that could result from the last agrarian reform of 1978 to 80. The capitalist class boasted that it had stopped all endogenous agricultural development for centuries in the event that the socialist government of F. Mitterrand, elections scheduled for 1981, granted considerable autonomy to these DOMs within the framework of the Common Program. This same collusion led the government to grant immunity to banana producers for the disposal of their stocks in 1991, confident that it had definitively won the battle against socialism. Let us not delude ourselves, the colonialist capitalists, supported by the government, are criminals. What was done in Guadeloupe and Martinique with the spraying of chlordane is a deliberate act that undermines the genetic integrity of our populations. Politically defined, this act is genocide. Our societies, already victims of genocide by substitution, bear the double mark of genocidality. The smoldering revolt must be unleashed, undermining the minimum foundations of public health services. The crime committed did not satisfy the colonial power, it was necessary to create the conditions for health negligence. This was a necessary condition for perfecting the effects of the crime of poisoning. The COVID-19 pandemic presented an unexpected opportunity. The arrival in September 2018 of G. Cotellan at the head of the University Hospital of Guadeloupe was a politically significant decision in the context of the implementation of the French government's genocidal orientation in our country. For 5 years Cotellan carried out his monstrous task in the service of the colonial system. It was precisely during the pandemic period that its management was disastrous for our people. He accomplished his mission with cold determination. We consider that the health policy implemented in Guadeloupe is worthy of high-level orchestration. It is not possible to inflict such serious consequences on our health without consultation and deliberation. The public health policy that hides a power to kill which, today, knows no limits, the proliferation of cancers testifies to this. Benign tumors in France are becoming an ordeal for patients treated in Guadeloupe. We do not even dwell on the cases of cardiovascular disease affecting more than half of the Guadeloupean population. Collusion, the pouring of chlordane poison, followed by the decomposition of the public health system, or even the destruction of the minimum health fabric, is a deliberate act.
The crime is consummated.
We are in self-defense. Rebuild on the buried corpse. The third act of political orientation consists of crowning the criminal approach with a simulation of reconstruction. The representatives of the system, metropolitan or local, are preparing the vigil of the DOM. In particular, the local elected representatives of colonialism are agitating as if they had thought of a reform of the existing system. This is not the case. The central government, after having covered up the deliberate initiatives of the Beaks, sought to regain control, in an incessant ballet between personal initiatives and government orientations. It was this colonial ballet that gave substance to institutional reforms in a colonial environment. Thus, in this internal condition, local politicians are forced to take a position on the European reform of the reorganization of economic development poles. Globalization thus adapts to colonial customs and is enriched by exploitation. Our puppets come to life in liberal shows, claiming to have thought about our future.
Non.
You wince in other people's carnival. All those who claim to be politicians concerned about the future of our people and who gossip about the articles of the French Constitution know very well that their words are incoherent, and that the government has established what they must accept and or refuse according to the color of their political card. The interest of the Guadeloupean people is not at all the business of these liars. Now that our people have been weakened, some of us murdered, the vast majority poisoned, some young people deported or corrupted, the colonial cadres already believe in our burial, violence, disease, trained young people scattered around the world, everything that leads to the loss of self-confidence and hope for the future, the time has come to repaint the walls of the colonial system. Following the weakening of the social body, physically and morally, the colonial power undertook to mobilize its henchmen, its lackeys, to give strength to its colonial apparatus. It's just a matter of changing gears. As in 1848 and 1946, France is setting a trap for us, a fool's bargain, choosing between 72, 73, 74. Like in the lottery, to ensure our future.
Non.
My GA, I'm not playing your game. My game is not yours. Our next article will be devoted to the awakening of the peoples in view of the collapse of Western imperialism, N degree 29.